privilege of introducing today's guest speaker, Mark McIntosh. Some of you might know Mark from his long television career in Denver. Almost 20 years as sports guy at Channel 4. And then almost 4 years as co-host of Channel 9's Colorado Company. Today he's host of Channel 4's Help Team 4 segments. Because I watch so very little of sports news, or TV in general, I didn't get to know Mark from any of those, right? I met Mark a few months ago in Denver at a speakers meeting. He was the featured speaker of the day. Not only did I enjoy his inspirational message, but I really appreciated and still do his uplifting and positive energy. But there's a less public side to Mark that perhaps you don't know. It has inspired him to serve others through his company, Victory Productions. Founded a decade ago, its mission is to encourage others to achieve goals and overcome challenges. Based on what I've come to know about Mark, he walks his talk and lives the words he shares with others. As we'll hear from him today, yes, life's a roller coaster, and we have choices. Here's Mark to share 6 tips for the dips with what he calls the spiritual six-pack. Please welcome Mark McIntosh.
Carla, and it's a real honor to be here. We go to school here. I can't say you're tired. It's such an honor for me to be able to stand before a group anywhere and give a pep talk about life, but to do it in this setting. I'm a huge Ernest Holmes fan. The teachings of religious science have transformed my life, and so just a real honor to be here. I feel like I've kind of come home in so many ways, and I think everybody in this room, we all kind of believe that there's a plan, right? That nothing happens by accident. That there's, it's kind of, things happen for a reason. We all be in agreement there. All those in favor say, and so it is. So it is. All right, so I have an example for you. An example from my life that I think really speaks to that. As Carla mentioned, I've been a TV guy for a long time, sportscaster at Channel 4. I've covered just about every event you can imagine. Many Super Bowls, Stanley Cups, Olympics, national championships, Final Fours, blah, blah, blah. I also co-hosted Colorado Company for 4 years. Anybody ever seen the show, Colorado Company? Wow, that's good. Ever been on Colorado Company? It's a show on Channel 9 at 10 o'clock in the morning. It's a variety show. And I had Olivia Newton-John sing Happy Birthday to her one time. I almost dropped my birthday cake in her lap. And then now I'm a shameless pitch man for companies on Channel 4, it's Help Team 4, and like Public Service Credit Union has incredible car loans, 2.5%. Give us a call, 303-831-4357, 303-831-HELP. But most of my career has been as a sports guy, and I used to host all the CU coaches shows. You got any Buff fans here? CU Buff fans here? I used to host the Bill McCartney, Rick Neuheisel, Gary Barnett, Seal Berry, all those shows. Right? And late in my career at Channel 4, hosting those shows, we used to tape the show at 10 o'clock on a Tuesday morning in Boulder. So I live Cherry Creek area of Denver, so I leave my home about 9 o'clock, get up to Boulder about 10, tape the show from 10 to 11, get back in the car, be back in Denver about noon. So from 9 to noon every Tuesday was just blocked out for the CU coaches shows. Well, in 2006, Root Sports entered into an agreement with CU to do the coaches shows. So they didn't want a guy from Channel 4 doing the shows anymore. They wanted one of their own guys to do it. So I lost that job. It so happened that at the same time I was going through a painful second divorce, and my second marriage was unraveling very similar fashion to my first. It was very painful. So I'm not in a very good spot. I'm trying to figure out what the heck's going on here, And so that goes away. So suddenly, from 9 to noon on Tuesdays, I've got this block of time open. I had started to go to Mile High Church, And suddenly Cynthia James is standing up in front of the congregation one day saying, I am going to be teaching science of mind classes on Tuesdays from 9 to noon. I talk about God working in mysterious ways. One thing went away and I walked right into that and took Science of Mind 1 and Science of Mind 2 under the tutelage of Cynthia James. And as we got to know each other, we kind of got similar backgrounds, singer, actress, I'm kind of an entertainer, blah, blah, blah. She challenged me, she said, Mark, you need to be out sharing your story. And so I stand before you today, and I'll give you a little synopsis of my story, and then we'll dive into the spiritual six-pack that I hope will get you intoxicated on just understanding the possibilities that exist within each and every one of us. I grew up in Kansas City, Missouri. I was just an athlete. And that's all I thought about growing up with sports. And by the time I was a senior in high school, I was a pretty good athlete. I was a three-sport high school All-American by the time I was a senior in high school. I was a quarterback in football, I was a point guard in basketball, and I was a center fielder in baseball. And it's February of 1976. I'm 56 years old. And I had just signed a letter of intent to play football and baseball on a full scholarship at the University of Missouri. I was a starting point guard for the #1 ranked team in the state. We were expected to win the state basketball championship. And then in June of 1976, I was projected to be an early round selection in the amateur baseball tournament. So I was what they call a 5-tool player. I was a center fielder. I could run, I could throw, I could field, I could hit with power. So I'm just living my athletic dreams. It's February of 1976. Things could not have gone better. And I'm just running down the floor in a basketball game on Friday night. I'm just running back on defense. And one of my teammates knocks the ball away from the guy on the other team. So suddenly we were back on offense. So I stop, turn, and I'm heading to the offensive end of the floor. Teammate throws me a pass, and I'm running almost like a wide receiver. And I'm looking back over my shoulder to catch the ball. And then I was just going to lay it in for an easy 2. Well, as soon as I looked back to catch it, the guy on the other team was running across the floor. He lunged to knock the ball away, missed the ball, and poked me in the eye. Drove my eyeball deep into my brain, which led to this rapid drop in blood pressure. So I'm staggering across the court. I can't see a thing, and just a few feet from the bench, I fainted and went down my whole upper left side. I don't remember any of this, but I was laying on the floor in a pool of blood. Blood was pouring out of my left ear. I was in seizure. They had to stop the game. Ambulance pulls up. They threw me in the back of the ambulance, rushed me off to the hospital. They wiped up all the blood and just kept on playing. But I had fractured my skull, suffered a severe concussion, which today they would consider a traumatic brain injury. Broke all the bones in my middle ear that control my equilibrium and depth perception, those cochlear bones in your inner ear. So I couldn't judge fly balls anymore. When I went down, I tore up all the rotator cuff muscles in my left shoulder. I'm left-handed. I couldn't throw anymore. I'm deaf in my left ear. Bam! Hit the floor. I've had a cataract repaired in this eye like 15 years ago. Severe trauma to the eye leads to premature cataract. So I've already had a cataract repaired in this eye. And I've got a cataract in this eye. I can't see any of that. I gotta get it fixed. But my athletic career is over with this freak poke in the eye. We've all been poked in the eye, haven't we? Is life going exactly the way you planned for everybody? If you say that, you're lying. I know that. I went off to the University of Missouri. They honored my scholarship. I was very grateful for that. But I was lost. I couldn't play. And so I made a strategic decision, folks. I said, by God, if I can't be the best athlete, I'm going to be the best partner. I gave it a good old college try. But I'm a lot better athlete than I am a partner. And I was lost. And I've also been through 2 painful divorces. I have a child from each marriage. My son is 24, lives in New York. He's on the writing team for Late Night with Seth Meyers. Anybody ever watch that show? Man, you stay up that late. That's good, man. I can't stay up that late. And then my daughter from my second marriage is going to be a senior at Denver. But I've been through 2 painful divorces. And then I've been through the layoffs of the media world, where my job was eliminated at Channel 4, my job was eliminated at Channel 9. You know, it's just the media world is shrinking. So So Cynthia James, once she kind of heard that, McIntosh, you've been poked in the eye physically, you've been poked in the eye emotionally, you've been poked in the eye financially, you need to be out sharing that story with people. So blame Cynthia James for this. It's her fault. But through the wonderful teachings of religious science, through people like Cynthia, through Marilyn, through Carla, the religious science family has just been so loving toward me. And then I got a bunch of knuckleheads that I get together with every Friday morning. It's called Platoon. It's a bunch of men. We have Bible study. I present to you today kind of where my spiritual journey is right now, and I call it the spiritual six-pack. And the Bible is my guide, and the Spirit of Jesus, the Master Teacher, is my inspiration. And this is my spiritual six-pack, and I share it all the time with the guys at the Denver Rescue Mission. I do a lot of work with the homeless guys down there, and I tell them, this is a spiritual six-pack, boys, but it's non-alcoholic for all you knuckleheads. Anyway, I don't mean to offend anybody when I say that. It's meant in love. But the spiritual six-pack, the first is Jeremiah 29:11. You're going to hear 6 Bible verses. Jeremiah 29:11. For I know the plans I have for you, plans to prosper and not harm you, to give you hope and a future. We all are on our respective journeys. Rarely does it go the way we plan, correct? All those in favor say it, so it is. So it is. Yeah, but God's got a plan for us. It's a plan to prosper and not harm us, to give us hope in the future. I would suspect there's some stuff going on in this room right now. Stuff going on physically, emotionally, financially. But I just encourage you to believe that God's got a plan for you. It's a plan to prosper and not harm you, to give you hope in the future. I'll never forget, as I was in the throes of my first divorce, the marriage ended quite suddenly and quite unexpectedly. But my bride had replaced me, but she had not left the marriage and was actually still living in the home, and it was pretty difficult. And I had to fly our son Kyle, who's now 24, but he was like 5 years old. I had to fly him from Tampa, from Denver to Tampa, to hook up with his mother and her friend. I'll never forget walking through the airport in Tampa, Florida, holding my 5-year-old son's hand. He's going, Dad, why are we down here? What are we doing? He says, I'm going to meet your mom. Why's Mom down there? Well, she's meeting her friend. Who's this friend? I don't really know him either, And they're walking toward me. So I'm walking through the terminal in the Tampa airport, holding my son's hand, and walking toward me is the woman I'm still married to. She's holding the hands of her new friend. And the whole way there, folks, I just kept repeating over and over in my mind as we were walking toward each other. I know you got a plan for me. That's a plan to prosper and not harm me, to give me hope in the future. And I gave my son a hug, handed him off to his mom and her friend, and then I turned and started running and bawling like a baby. God's got a plan for us. It can seem really dark sometimes, folks, and it doesn't seem like there's any way out. But we got to believe that God's got a plan for us. And it's a plan to prosper and not harm us, to give us hope in the future. All those in favor saying, so it is. So it is. All right, the second, the spiritual six-pack. Galatians 6:9. Never grow weary of doing good. For at the proper time, we'll reap the harvest if we just don't give up. That old law of circulation, right? And like the guys at the rescue mission, I try to encourage them all the time because they get down on themselves big time. And I try to encourage them, when you get down on yourself, go do something good for somebody else. It just lifts your spirits. I love to share this story. This was a couple of years ago. I think it speaks to the power of the law of circulation, the power of never growing weary of doing good for somebody else because I'm going to reap the harvest. It sounds kind of selfish, really, but it works. This was a couple of years ago. I'm in Kansas City, my hometown, and I'm getting ready to speak to a bunch of coaches from a high school. Like yesterday, I talked to the Fountain Fort Carson coaching staff. Gave a little pep talk to get the season started. So I'm talking to all these coaches, and I was due to speak to him at 10 o'clock in the morning. But I woke up at 6 o'clock in the morning. I'm an early riser. And my darling girlfriend at the time, who's now my fiance, I'm getting married for a third time, folks. I told her, third time's a charm. Good things come in threes, you know? And, you know, it's interesting how, I'm getting sidetracked here, but had these two ladies not decided to take their lives in different directions, would not have brought the most amazing woman into my life. So, thanks be to God, you know. But anyway, so we're in Kansas City. I wake up at 6 o'clock. She's sleeping soundly next to me. She is not a morning person. I know not to disturb her. And so I'm lying there in bed going, okay, what the heck? I got three and a half hours to kill. And I thought, oh, we'll get a workout in. Because I'm a big believer in sweat day. It keeps the doctor away and all that kind of stuff. And then I realized, oh, there's not a gym in the hotel. And I had a little meniscus tear, so I didn't want to go out and run on the streets. So I said, oh, I can't get a workout in. Then I remembered, oh, that's right, there's a Starbucks about 3 blocks from the hotel. And I'm kind of curious by nature. I think that's what drew me to be a journalist and all that kind of jazz. So I thought, I'm just going to go down to Starbucks, get a cup of coffee, and kind of see what happens, you know? Just let the moment be present, you know? So I knew that Kathy wanted me to bring her back a coffee and a pastry. And I looked outside, and it looked like a typical cold, gray, dreary Midwestern winter morning. Anybody here in the Midwest? Sun never shines every winter time. That's why I love living in Colorado. I go back to the Midwest, I go, why do people live here? I don't have to sweat like this. Anyway, I looked outside, it looked like a typical cold, gray, dreary Midwestern winter morning, so I threw on a sweatshirt. And I'm now downstairs, I'm walking through the lobby of the hotel. And I can tell that the two doormen and 2 young guys, look like college-age kids. UMKC is real close to the plaza there. Looked like 2 college kids that were moonlighting on the weekends, doormen. They were looking at me kind of funny, and finally one said, hey dude, where are you going dressed like that? I went, I'm just going down to Starbucks. You guys want a cup of coffee? They go, sure man, but hey dude, you don't have enough clothes on. I went, oh, don't you worry about me. I grew up here, I'm an athlete, I can handle this. So I'm walking outside and I'm sure those guys are saying, that old man has no idea what he's getting into. I walk outside, boom! Midwestern winter wind hit me, the wind chill was like 35 below. So I was like sprinting as fast as I could to Starbucks. I get inside the Starbucks and I was like, what am I going to do now? There's no way I'm going to sprint back to the hotel carrying a tray of coffee and pastries. And there's no way I'm walking back. It's too darn cold. I got no idea what I'm going to do. Then a brilliant idea hits me. I'll call a cab for a 3-block walk. So I reached in my pocket for my cell phone. I had left it in the room. All right, Smarty Pants, what you can do now? It's 6:15 on a Saturday morning. There's only 2 or 3 other people in this Starbucks, and none of them look remotely interested in my dilemma. No idea what I'm going to do. Then suddenly somebody tapped me on the shoulder. Turn around, this guy says, are you Mark McIntosh? Well, yes, I am. He goes, Robert Thompson, I grew up in Denver, used to watch you all the time on TV. Then I went to see you and I'm a big Bucks fan. And a couple of years ago, I was at the Rose Bowl in Pasadena. I'm walking around outside the stadium looking for a ticket. You walked up to me and gave me a press pass. I got to watch the game from the press box. That was unbelievable. And I haven't had a chance to say thank you. What are you doing in Kansas City? He goes, I just moved here last week. I went, oh, you live down on the plaza? He goes, no, I live out in Blue Springs. Well, Blue Springs is like 30 miles. Blue Springs is like Harvard and Denver. I said, what the heck are you doing down on the plaza at 6:15 on Saturday morning? So I stopped in here to get a cup of coffee before meeting my girlfriend for breakfast. Well, the odds. Just when I needed somebody, like an angel tapped me on the shoulder. So I said, hey, Robert, you want to show me how great we are? Give me a ride back to my hotel. And he did. So I got out of the car, and I handed those cups of coffee to those smart aleck doormen. And then I marched upstairs and handed that cup of coffee and pastry to my darling fiance. It was just resonating inside of me to never grow weary of doing good things for others. Because we will reap the harvest if we just don't give up. All those in favor saying, so it is. So it is. All right. The third of the spiritual six-pack. So we're unwavering that God's got a plan for us. We focus on good works for others. The third is Colossians 3:13. Be gentle and forgiving. Never hold a grudge. I don't like to use absolutes. Always, never, and all that, but it says it right there. Be gentle and forgiving. Never hold a grudge. Remember, the Lord, Jesus, master teacher, forgave us. We must forgive others. And I like to amplify, including ourselves. So I think we can be pretty hard on ourselves, can't we? We kind of beat ourselves up a little bit. I know that's certainly a problem for the guys at the Denver Rescue Mission. These guys just drag around this big old bag, and you know what? I was going to say, you gotta let it go. You gotta let it go. We gotta let it go too. We carry anything around. Mad at somebody? Blaming somebody else for what's going on in our lives? Playing the victim game? You gotta let it go. Say that with me on 3. 1, 2, 3. Let it go. Say it again. 1, 2, 3. Let it go. Let it go. My second marriage is unraveling in much the same fashion as the first. My second bride used to sell advertising to Channel 4. People always joke, McIntosh, you might think about getting outside the building when we married, because my first wife also went to Channel 4. It worked. Anyway, she sold advertising. Her biggest client, we used to entertain this guy, he was wonderful all the time, taking ball games, taking plays, and everything. At some point, things shifted. And so, we're in the throes of our divorce, and very strict by then, I was doing the morning shows. I was doing the morning sports at Channel 4. And she's now married to this man, and we have a mutual respect for one another. He's a real big advertiser on television. And so a lot of times, when I go out on set, I'd be putting my mic on, put my IFB in my ear, getting ready to give you morning sports. Some people watch, Reverend Carl doesn't. And a lot of times, the very last commercial before I go on the air would be a commercial for this guy's company. So it'd be like, just get stabbed in the heart. But I would just sit there and go, be gentle and forgiving, never hold a grudge. Be gentle and forgiving, never hold a grudge. Hey everybody, here's what's going on. You know, the Rockies suck and the Broncos are going to win the Super Bowl. We got to be gentle and forgiving, never hold a grudge. But without that, I probably just, I don't know how I make it without my faith through something like that. And I know that everybody here's got something going on probably. And we just got to let it go. We got to be gentle and forgiving, never hold a grudge. All those in favor say, so it is. So it is. All right, we're halfway through. We just resolute that God's got a plan for us. We focus on good works for other people. We have a forgiving heart, including against ourselves. And the fourth is 1 Corinthians 14:8. If the trumpet does not sound a clear call, who shall prepare for battle? What were the trumpets? Are we sounding a clear call? I think that speaks to we're called to be leaders. People with this kind of spirit. The kind of spirit that Ernest Holmes always talked about. The kind of spirit that just pervades from every religious science celebration. We're supposed to sound a clear call. You might say, okay, well, what exactly does that look like, McIntosh? How do they sound a clear call? Well, whatever we're maybe thinking about saying, doing, or whatever, let's make sure that it honors the higher power. Let's make sure it nurtures those dependent upon us. And let's make sure it adds value to the communities we serve. That's a terrific trio there. If our thoughts, words, and actions, they all honor a higher power. They nurture those dependent upon us and add value to the communities we serve. That's not bad, right? Everybody live with that? That's pretty good. That gets back to that cord of 3 strands is not easily broken. You get those 3, you're honoring a higher power, you're nurturing those dependent upon you, and you're adding value to the communities you serve. All those in favor say, so it is.
So it is.
The fifth of the spiritual six-pack is 1 Peter 3:15. And that one says, in my heart, I will always honor Christ as holy, the master teacher. And I'm ready to answer questions when anybody says, what is it about you? But I do it with gentleness and respect. And to me, ladies and gentlemen, that is always, I grew up in Missouri. Anybody else here from Missouri? Nobody? Nobody else from Missouri? It's awful muggy back there this time. But Missouri is known as the Show Me State. Very good. Yeah. And so I was raised that my actions would speak far louder than my words. And so I try to myself and try to encourage others that, by golly, you know, when somebody asks me about my faith, I will certainly share my faith. But until you ask me about my faith, I'm going to show you. Actions speak far louder than words. All those in favor say amen.
Amen.
Can we say amen? Is that right? But that's, you know, and so I just want to encourage y'all. We're through 5 of them. So we're unwavering that God's got a plan for us. We focus on good works for others. We have a forgiving heart. We sound a clear call with our actions speaking far louder than our words. I believe, folks, that if we can do those 5 things, I think we will have a spirit about us that is Christ-like. And that kind of spirit is pretty awesome. The fruits of that type of spirit are off the charts. As it says in Galatians 5:22-23, the fruits of that type of spirit: love, joy, peace, patience, kindness, goodness, faithfulness, gentleness, and self-control. Against such things there is no law. Nothing can stop us. Can you imagine? If we could just every day, and I know it's hard because life gets in the way of our best laid plans, right? But can you imagine if we were just locked in on being loving toward one another, being joyful for the blessings? And sometimes I know it's hard to find those blessings. When stuff's hitting the fan and you're going, what the heck is going on around here? But to be loving and joyful and peaceful and patient and kind and good and faithful and gentle and under control. Because against such things, say it with me, folks, there is no law. Say it again. There is no law. Nothing can stop us. Can you imagine? Real easy to sit over and talk about this. But once we walk out of here and life starts hitting us right in the face, can we hang in there? Can we hang in there and just believe that? So that's the spiritual six-pack. Life's a roller coaster, without question. Those are 6 tips for the dips. And be unwavering that God's got a plan for you. Focus on good works. Have a forgiving heart. Sound a clear call in ways that honor, nurture, and value. With our actions speaking far louder than our words, we'll have a spirit about us that starts with love and ends with self-control. And against such things, there is no law. I'd like to close with this happened a couple months ago. I was speaking to a bunch of guys, a bunch of dudes, a bunch of knuckleheads. And it was a men's Bible study. And I was done with my talk. I'm walking through the parking lot, I was kind of lost in my thoughts, going, I sure hope and pray that somebody got something from that. They found some value, that maybe unlocked something inside. And I was also proud of myself that I remembered my stool. I leave these all over the country. I started to put my name on them. See, good family. I leave them all over. They used to be like $8 to charge, now they're up to 15, so you know, it's costly. But so I'm just walking through the parking lot carrying my stool, and all of a sudden I hear this guy say, "Hey Mark!" Turn around, this guy's walking toward me in the parking lot. He's got a determined look on his face. He's coming after me, you know. He's got an Arizona State baseball cap on, he had a neatly trimmed beard, he had a nice tan. I'm always envious of people with tan. My friends called me albino growing up. He's marching toward me, and he walks on and goes, "Mark, $8, kids." He goes, "Boy, I really enjoyed that pep talk. I got a lot out of that." I said, "Thanks, buddy. Nobody's getting more of this than I am." Challenged me to walk my talk. And he said, "Mark, I'd like to share with you what's been my life's mission statement for the past 10 years since I got sober." I said, "Lay it on me, buddy." And what he said to me, perhaps you all heard before, but I've never heard it. It's not my son's life. Abe Foskett says, "Mark, yesterday is history. Tomorrow's but a mystery. Today is a gift. That's why it's called the present." Very good. Today is a gift. That's why it's called the present. And ladies and gentlemen, I just want to encourage you right now. Let's unwrap that present. Right here, right now. Let's open up that space of possibility that lies within each and every one of us to shift from whatever it is to what could be. In just embracing the possibilities of life. By golly, let's just embrace that God's got a plan for us, and it's a plan to prosper and not harm us, to give us hope in the future. Let's focus on good works for others. Let's have a forgiving heart. Let's sound a clear call, with our actions speaking far louder than our words. If we can do that, folks, I promise you, we will have a spirit about us that is just off the charts. It starts with love and it ends with self-control, and against such things there is no law. All those in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Well, I wouldn't hurt you anyway. Listen out, my deaf ear. Thank you very much.